Well, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our live stream on attracting talent to Canada with Mob Squad. I'm Chris McLeod with Edmonton Global, and I'll be your host for this quick little conversation with Irahim Rauji with Mob Squad. So, Irahim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's pronounced Irfan, but appreciate you having me here. No problem.
Yeah, you bet. Sorry about that. We just did a little practice round, and I don't know why I got the name mixed up there right to start.
Oh man, I like that name though. It's a good name.
Yeah, it suits you.
I might go with it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just do just a little bit of an intro here for you. So you're a really experienced strategic consultant. You've got a lot of public company experience, a lot of senior executive experience. You've done work in private equity, venture capital. You're the founder and CEO of Mob Squad. You're the board chair of Organic Box, Activate. You're a board member of Chatter Research and The Logic. And of course, you're really engaged in the community. You're a board member of a whole bunch of not-for-profits, including the Glenbow Museum in Calgary. So you're a super busy guy, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Of course, no, anytime. Happy to be here, and thank you for that very kind introduction.
Yeah, you bet. It makes up for the name thing at the beginning. Okay, so let's jump right in. So Mob Squad solves a lot of really challenging problems for business. And really, for business right now, the biggest thing is about accessing talent and try to get it, from all over the world. And really, again, there's nothing more important in today's economy than talent. So what's Mob Squad doing that really helps solve this global challenge of helping companies access talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've highlighted the biggest challenge that our clients have, and I think business leaders have, which is there still is a war for talent, especially technology talent, despite the pandemic. If you looked at employment rates of people that are working in areas like artificial intelligence or software engineering, it's very clear there's still a huge gap in supply and demand, especially in markets like the United States. And so we created Mob Squad to solve that problem. So we help our clients, whether they're US companies or Canadian companies, fill difficult to fill roles, and we do it by going globally. So yes, we have access to talent in Canada, and there is a lot of technically trained talent in Canada in big cities like Edmonton, but we don't just rely on Canada. Because the Canadian immigration system is very different than most other markets in the world, especially the United States, we have access to talent anywhere in the world. And so we go to markets like India or China or Russia or Ukraine or Brazil, and we hunt for talent there, and we bring that talent to Canada. Usually in about 4 or 5 weeks under the Global Talent Stream program the government of Canada introduced in 2017. And we hire them, we sponsor them into the country, we make them employees of Mob Squad, and then we contract them out to our clients on an exclusive long-term basis. So we have many American clients, scale-ups like Betterment and Pedal Card and Cloud9 Technologies, but we also have Canadian clients, big companies like Epcor, as an example.
So I just want to underline that. So a company needs to hire somebody, they source the talent from anywhere in the world, but because you bring them on basically through Mob Squad, contracted to them, you can turn around that talent need pretty much on a dime.
Yeah, and in fact, the companies, like our clients, don't even have to find the talent themselves. We find the talent for them because we're in these markets, really picking folks that are at the highest end of skills. So in AI and cyber and the places that are most difficult to fill, our next individual right now, she's a Turkish national in Japan that's got a master's degree in mechanical engineering, a bachelor's degree in aerospace engineering. We're bringing her to Canada, I think, next week. Those are people that are not easy to find, but are in high demand. And so we help solve our clients' challenges by bringing those types of people to market. And because we find the talent, we employ them, we sponsor them into the country, but we then assign them to one client on an exclusive long-term basis. So, we sort of take all the hassle out of trying to find that talent. And if you're a US company, you don't necessarily want to employ these people in Canada and set up a subsidiary and have a tax structure and a legal structure and remittances and benefits. So we do all of that. It's like a virtual subsidiary. The employee is technically an employee of Mob Squad, but they really work alongside their colleagues in our client companies.
Yeah, that's a really innovative model. And I think most people would think that this is in response to the immediate challenges, especially what's going on in the US. But this isn't a brand new company. So where did this come from and how long have you been doing it?
We launched the company a couple of years ago. This has been a challenge, for U.S. scale-ups. Talent
Yeah.
has been a challenge for a long time because of the visa system there, where it's capped at 85,000 people a year. There's hundreds of thousands of open jobs, and they're not training enough people. So the only way to fix the supply and demand imbalance is to have more immigration, but immigration's capped. In Canada, immigration for knowledge workers is not capped. And so we actually can have supply and demand be met and actually have a match and equilibrium here. And so we saw this because I'm an investor, as you said, and I'm a partner at a venture capital firm called Relay Ventures, which has an office in Silicon Valley and an office in Toronto and in Calgary. And we saw this challenge with our US portfolio companies, and it was different than what we were seeing in Canada. So we said, well, how do we help these US companies that are in our own portfolio solve this challenge? And we can use Canada as a vehicle to do that. And not only can we get talent from around the world, because of the model, and because we're offering these individuals the opportunity to get a permanent residency card in under a year, to be a citizen of Canada in under 4 years, our total rewards package for our staff is better than what they would get in the United States. They probably will never get a green card. They'll never be a citizen. And the value of citizenship to people in countries like India, China, Brazil, Russia, places that traditionally people want to be Canadian, is very high. So not only do we have access to the biggest talent pool, because we can go global, not just local, we also have the best value proposition to these potential employees. So we end up picking up the very, very best from around the world to move here.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Like I know for us as the Edmonton metropolitan region, we really talk a ton about talent as being the cornerstone of our value proposition, and immigration really is really central to that. We've had conversations with our universities, colleges, and polytechnics about the critical role that foreign students bring into our economy. How much work we're doing to try to keep people. And I think that difference between what's happening in Canada and what's happening south of the border is really clear. And Canada is a country that's built on immigration. That's really who we are as a people. We're about 25% first generation immigrants. In our region, places like Toronto, it's getting up to like 50%. I think for people that are maybe living here, we're not always aware of how the world sees us. So your comments about Russia and China and India and the kind of the high value of becoming a Canadian citizen, we don't often kind of think about that, but it's it's absolutely true. So do you think that the desire to work here has been increasing? Is it kind of steady? And I'm just really curious your thoughts on that.
It's definitely been increasing. I mean, we see it in the numbers, we see it in our applications, we see it in the hits to our website, we see it in the rhetoric, we see it in the press. MobSchool was in the New York Times last weekend. Why?
Yeah.
Talking about what we're doing that is slightly different in Canada than elsewhere. Unfortunately, globally, there's an increasing fear of the other. We see walls going up versus coming down. We see trade agreements falling apart. We see our desire to work internationally actually declining for maybe the first time in 50 or more years, except for in Canada. In Canada, we continue to welcome immigrants. We continue to welcome refugees. We continue to try to have more people come here every year. I mean, we just announced increasing our target from 340,000 permanent residence cards given out last year to over 400,000 next year. And I think that dialogue that happens in our press with our politicians tells people that are foreign nationals that we want you here. That is not something that they necessarily hear in other countries, including in the United States. And so I think the desire to come to Canada has gone up dramatically. And specifically Edmonton, I think is incredibly advantaged for 2 or 3 things that I think that foreigners that come to Canada think about. The first is quality of education. The University of Alberta in Edmonton is one of the top research institutions, not just in Canada, but globally. And if you think about coming to a market in a place where you can establish a family where your kids can go to a local university, you want that school to be exceptionally strong. And U of A is one of the best in the country by far. I'd say the second thing is it's really not just culturally diverse, it's culturally vibrant. There are things to do, outdoor things in the River Valley, but think about the festivals that a place like Edmonton has. We find that when we bring people to Canada, they want to really plug in to what it means to be Canadian. And I think Edmonton has a lot to offer there. And so I think it's an attractive place I think our bigger cities are all attractive, but I think it's some particularly interesting things for Edmonton.
Yeah, those are really outstanding points. And we work with international companies all the time, and often, they don't just want to know about, the business environment. They want to know about that cultural environment, especially if they're bringing in people from other parts of the world. So it absolutely matters. And I think, for those of us who live here, we don't often think about just how much is really going on. So we've got more festivals than we have weekends. We've got the world's largest heritage festival that celebrates multiculturalism. We've got the world's second largest fringe festival. Only the one in Edinburgh, Scotland, the original is bigger. Plus all the other things that are happening. So it is a pretty amazing place.
I mean,
And
look at the museum, the Royal Alberta Museum.
yeah,
I mean, I'm our Glenville Museum here in Calgary, but that's a $300 million capital project. That's I mean, I think one of the jewels in the crown of the city. And I mean, the Fringe Festival. I mean, that is a must-attend event, even for folks. I mean, not just in Edmonton, but across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to talk a little, not because I don't want to talk politics, but we've got changes coming in leadership south of the border.
Yeah.
So I think we're still seeing that it's going to take quite a while, and there's probably going to be some yo-yoing of public policy down there over the next 4 to 8 to however many years. Is this still kind of the right time to be coming to Canada? And are you seeing a drop off now that Biden's coming in, or are you seeing that continuation of interest coming here?
We haven't seen any change since the election. It continues to be very robust for our business and the interest in our business. In fact, we have more active conversations today, in the middle of December, than we've had in the last 2 years, even post-election. And I think it is because of our welcoming nature as a country. I think when you think about things like the global pandemic, having universal healthcare suddenly becomes much more important. And so I think people see what it is that we've built as a country, and they think, that's interesting long-term planning. That is a country that I want to put roots in, because it's not just about coming for a year or two. It's about moving your family. It's about actually saying that's a place that I'm going to commit to long-term. And I think that Canada continues to have a lot to offer there. In terms of the visa system in the United States, the only way that I think they can solve their challenge is to do something like Canada, which is a much more open system for knowledge workers. That requires the Senate, it requires the House, it requires the President to change that number, because it's legislative at 85,000 a year. That we've seen is very hard to get legislative change in the U.S. done. It's a very different system. In many ways, it's a fail-safe, right? Like, you need to make sure that if you make decisions that people are really aligned, but it makes making decisions probably slower.
Yeah, totally. So just to shift it a little bit back to Canada, and just to understand, especially for people that are watching, kind of how you're doing this. So what are the kind of the key provincial or federal programs that you're working within? You mentioned the global talent stream. Can you just kind of give a quick high level on how you do this?
Yeah, so within the immigration department and the employment department, so two different federal departments, there is a program called Global Talent Stream, which allows employers like Mob Squad, who are employing technical talent in the areas that we know we want to have more individuals come to the country in. So think of software engineering, data science, those types of technical skills. It allows you the opportunity to get a work permit in about 4 weeks issued. If you think about that relative to the US, where it could take over a year to get through the lottery system, that's very, very quick.
Yeah.
You need to ensure that the individuals have the right level of education and that you're doing everything that's appropriate to get the permit. But they've really opened that up quite quickly. So that's the program that we primarily use. There are other programs in terms of varying programs by province to get permanent residency cards or work permits, but that is the fastest. And within that, there's something called the dedicated service channel, where certain employers have direct access to their own immigration officer, which at Mob Squad we have as well, just given the number of these individuals that we're bringing in. And frankly, the quality. I think that we're doing what the government wants us to do from a policy perspective. We're bringing young, smart, technically sophisticated talent to the country.
Okay, that's fantastic. We work with international investors. Often, what they're looking to do, if it's a greenfield expansion into the region, is they've got usually 1 or 2 people that are their core people, that they've either already have a relationship with here or that they're bringing in, and then they want to build a team around them. And we're finding that some of them, I think, are more used to the U.S. model, where they're assuming that it's going to take them a long time and it's going to be very complicated. And so then it takes a while. So for here, though, I think it's a very different model where, you don't necessarily have to wait until you've got all of your ducks lined up before you can start to activate and, shifting
Yeah.
people and capital and things. So, how much does your company have in place before they get going?
Yeah, I mean, that's typically how we work with most of our clients, right? Like,
Yeah.
We're a virtual turnkey subsidiary. You can call us and we can have people working for you, within weeks. And it's infinitely scalable because we have access to a massive pool, the entire world. I was talking to a client that was in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. They were looking to make a second office in Denver. And I said, why are you going to Denver? And they said, well, we want access to the Denver market. And so because there's not enough talent in San Francisco, so we're going to go and get access to Denver. And I said, well, if you put that office in Edmonton or in Calgary or Vancouver, a Canadian city, not only are you going to have access to Edmonton, you'll have access to the entire world. And with our Global Talent Stream program, not only do you have the biggest pool with the best value proposition for this talent, but you can get them here in weeks. You have the biggest pool of the best quality at the fastest speed.
Yep. That's the key message right there. Well, I think too, like when you look at the cost of living, places like the Silicon Valley, and even Denver to an extent, and to compare that to here, like Edmonton in the major cities in Canada is the most affordable. So, we also have about, you take the average salary in Canada, if you times that by 1.5, that's the average salary in Edmonton. So we've got a lower cost of living, a little bit higher salary. So that gap is actually where you build a life. And that gap is higher here than any place else in the country. So from an individual, talent, it's great for them. From a company, again, you're getting a pretty good overall deal. Plus, if you're, selling your product or doing work in a US dollar, there's an automatic dollar discount. So it's a pretty good value prop.
I mean, I think the number one thing in our opinion, and from our client's perspective, it's not just about cost, it's about quality.
Yeah, totally.
You can get the best people here. You're not limited by, other restrictions in government policy. And so, and yes, it is great for your talent because they have a very good quality of life and very low cost of living. That's part of winning the war for talent. And so, for companies where winning the war for talent is critical, like there isn't a better solution. Sure, maybe you could save a few bucks too, but isn't it better to have your open roles filled and have the best people doing those jobs? That is more important than saving, 5% or 10% or whatever it is you think you can do, in my opinion, because, speed to market matters, having quality teams, especially technical teams, matter. And if you look at what's going on in the world right now, like the winning sector through this pandemic has been the technology sector. It
Absolutely.
Still has a challenge on supply and demand for talent, and this is the way to win the war.
Yeah, I totally agree. So is there, just as we move to wrap up here, is there anything else that you'd like either an individual or a company to know about coming to Canada to work?
I think that I've been fortunate to be educated on both sides of the border. I have my undergraduate degree from Canada, my master's degree from the US. I've worked on both sides of the border. Canada and the US are very similar in many ways. It's a very easy market to have a second office in because the business culture is similar, the time zones are the same, the language is the same, the legal structures are the same. But there is a benefit in that the policy regimes are very different. And so, de-risking your business by putting an office in Canada, I think, can help you from a policy perspective. Think about just healthcare as one example in the middle of a pandemic. Think about the idea right now of not wanting to have everybody in one spot. If you're going to pick a second spot, I think putting it in a different regulatory regime that maybe has different advantages, is something that can be really value add, and Edmonton's a great city to do that in.
Okay, thanks so much for that, and I agree completely with everything that you've said. So for anybody who's watching, if you want to learn more about Mob Squad, we've got their web address just up on the screen. Please feel free to to reach out and have a connection. I know Irfan is really willing to get right into whatever the needs of your company are and help you solve it. And we'd love to see you set up a team here in Edmonton. So Irfan, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks so much, everybody else.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It was great to be here with you.
Yeah, you bet.